Hello and welcome to World News on the Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Before we begin, here are the headlines. Trump administration expands U.S. travel ban to 5 more countries. Central African Republic receives key electoral materials ahead of December 28 vote. Cautious hope, skepticism as M23 announces withdrawal from Uvida in eastern DRC. Ethiopian Prime Minister welcomes India's Modi in Addis Ababa as two-day state visit begins. Benin jails 30 people, mostly soldiers, over failed coup attempt. Sierra Leone declares end of Mpox outbreak, but survivors face stigma and discrimination. South Africa moves to bring home citizens trapped in Ukraine. And now the news in full. The Trump administration has broadened its controversial U.S. travel ban to include 5 additional countries, tightening entry restrictions on foreign nationals in a significant shift in American immigration policy that will take effect in early 2026. The update was confirmed in a White House announcement outlining expanded travel prohibitions and entry limits. Under the updated policy, citizens of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan and Syria are now subject to a full ban on travel to the United States, joining a growing list of nations whose nationals are barred from entry. The expansion also fully restricts travel for individuals holding travel documents issued by the Palestinian Authority. In addition to the full bans, the United States has imposed partial travel restrictions on a broader group of countries, including several in Africa and elsewhere, affecting visitors, student, and some immigrant visas. Countries facing these restrictions include Angola, Benin, Gabon, the Gambia, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Zambia, and others. The measure reflects security and immigration concerns cited by U.S. authorities, who argue that vetting challenges and high visa overstay rates make broader travel eligibility difficult to manage. Supporters of the policy within the U.S. government defend it as necessary for national security and broad border control. The proclamation is expected to be implemented from January 1, 2026, affecting visa applications and travel planning for hundreds of thousands of prospective travelers, students, and diaspora communities seeking entry under various visa categories. Preparations for the Central African Republic CAR general election have reached a critical milestone with the arrival of sensitive electoral materials in Bangui, strengthening logistical readiness for voting scheduled on December 28, 2025. The materials were delivered ahead of schedule to ensure distribution and implementation can proceed smoothly across the country. The shipment also includes ballot papers, voters' lists, and other essential electoral documents, was received by the president of the Authorized National Day Elections (ANE) and representatives from the United Nations Development Programme and MINUSCA, the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission in CAR. These items are vital to the conduct of presidential, legislative, and local elections, forming the backbone of the country's electoral framework. Officials have emphasized that the arrival of electoral materials is a major step in the election timeline, giving authorities sufficient time to distribute documents to polling stations and support civic education efforts. The ANE has urged eligible voters to collect their voters' card and participate in the democratic process, enforcing the importance of broad citizen engagement. There are mixed reactions in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, following the conditional announcement by the Alliance Fleuve Congo M23 rebel coalition that its fighters will withdraw from the strategic town of Uvira, a flashpoint in the protracted conflict in South Kivu province. The move has stirred cautious optimism among residents and mediators that de-escalation might be possible, even as deep skepticism persists given the long history of fragile truces in the region. The ACF's M23's announcement described the pullback as a step towards confidence building in ongoing peace negotiations, particularly those linked to the Doha peace process intended to end fighting and address humanitarian and security challenges. The city of Uvira was previously seized by rebels in a rapid offensive that sparked widespread condemnation and raised fears of wider regional destabilization, including displacement of civilians and cross-border tensions. Despite this statement of intent, analysts and many local actors remain wary. For many, the DRC's conflict has seen repeated cycles of territorial gains, withdrawals, and resurgent violence, often with limited oversight or implementation on the ground. Eastern Congo continues to face a complex security landscape with multiple armed groups, displacement crises, and humanitarian needs that have persisted despite international mediation efforts. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali formally welcomed Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Addis Ababa, marking the start of a two-day state visit focused on deepening bilateral cooperation and strategic ties between the two nations. The visit underscores growing diplomatic engagement between India and Ethiopia and reflects broader efforts to strengthen South-South cooperation on issues ranging from trade and investment to technology and regional security. Modi's arrival was met with ceremonial honors, including cultural performances and enthusiastic support from the Indian diaspora in Ethiopia. Leaders from both countries are set to hold high-level discussions aimed at expanding partnerships in areas such as economic development, capacity building, and multilateral engagement, particularly within the framework of Global South cooperation. Ethiopia's position as host of the Africa Union headquarters adds significance to the visit, providing a strategic platform for dialogue on continental priorities. Modi is expected to address a joint session of Ethiopian Parliament and reaffirm India's commitment to shared goals with Ethiopia and African partners. We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. A special court in Benin Republic has remanded about 30 individuals, most of them military personnel in custody, in connection with a failed coup attempt that took place earlier this month. The suspects appeared before the court for the repression of economic offenses and terrorism in Cotonou and were placed in pre-trial detention pending further investigation. The coup bid unfolded on December 7, 2025, when a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri briefly seized the national television station and announced the overthrow of President Patrice Talon's government. Loyalist forces quickly quashed the mutiny, with support from the Nigerian Air Force and French Special Forces, restoring constitutional order within hours. Authorities have charged the detained suspects with serious offenses including treason, murder, and endangering state security. Security was visibly tightened around the courthouse during the proceedings, and legal representatives were present to follow the case. One civilian was also among those remanded, highlighting the broad nature of alleged conspiracy. Sierra Leone has officially declared the Mpox outbreak over, marking a major public health milestone after more than 2 years fighting the virus that swept across the country earlier in 2025. The Minister of Health announced the end of the epidemic after 42 consecutive days, with no new reported cases meeting the World Health Organization's criteria for declaring an outbreak over. All 16 districts in the country are now free of active Mpox transmission. The Mpox epidemic first emerged in the country in January 2025 and prompted the government to declare a public health emergency as cases surged, peaking with thousands of confirmed infections and dozens of deaths. Nationwide response efforts included vaccination campaigns, surveillance, isolations and treatment protocols, and community outreach to stem spread of the virus. Sierra Leone's health authorities and partners worked to vaccinate tens of thousands of people and expand testing and contact tracing capacity during the outbreak. Public health officials have celebrated the declaration as a testament to coordinated action, strong leadership, and community involvement. The Ministry of Health noted that over 99% recovery was achieved among those infected, and emphasized that vigilance and surveillance would continue to prevent future resurgence. However, as the country transitions to post-outbreak status, many Mpox survivors continue to face stigma and discrimination in their communities. Individuals who recover from the disease report social rejection by family members, loss of jobs, and difficulty reintegrating into daily life. The discrimination appears to be driven by misinformation, fear, and mistrust of public health messages about the virus, despite clinical recovery. Advocates and survivors networks are now focused on education and awareness campaigns to combat stigma and support reintegration while urging sustained public health community to ensure that survivors are treated respectfully and fairly. South African authorities are intensifying efforts to secure the return of nationals reportedly stranded in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war following distress calls and growing concern over their safety in combat zones. The government is engaged in delicate diplomatic negotiations aimed at repatriating at least 17 South African men believed to be trapped in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region, where heavy fighting continues as part of the protracted conflict. The men are understood to have been recruited under false pretenses lured with promises of legitimate training or employment opportunities before being drawn into frontline fighting for Russian-aligned forces. The situation sparked public outcry and protest by families in South Africa who are urging officials to secure the safe return of their loved ones. President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration has taken the matter seriously, emphasizing that talks with various authorities, including Russian counterparts, remain fluid and sensitive. Government spokespeople note that securing the release of citizens from a war zone presents grave challenges and serious risks to their lives. The issue has highlighted broader concerns over the exploitation of young citizens through shadowy recruitments, networks that operate across borders, drawing in recruits with misleading promises. South African laws forbid citizens from participating in foreign armed conflicts without official authorization, and the government has underscored its commitment to uphold legal protections while working urgently to extract those caught up in the crisis. And that's all we have on World News on the Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.